When love turns into betrayal, revenge becomes the only way out. The story of a strong woman whose belief in a perfect life is shattered by a cruel reality. Lies, deceit, and betrayal are just the beginning of her battle. Now she is ready to do anything to restore justice and punish the one who destroyed her world. A deceived woman turns into a tornado, sweeping away everything in her path. I've always thought of myself as a strong woman. Intelligent, determined, able to cope with all the difficulties that life presents. My career was moving forward and I believed that nothing could shake my confidence. But as it turns out, even the most confident people can be wrong. Sometimes all it takes is one to realize how fragile our confidence can be. I was 25 when I met him. He was 10 years older than me, but age didn't matter. His charm, his self-confidence, and the image of success that he artfully created around him were mesmerizing. He was a businessman, the owner of several successful companies, a man who seemed to succeed at everything. He had that magnetic power that attracts people. We met at one of the social parties where the most influential people of our city gathered. At the time, I was still working as a lawyer in a growing firm, dreaming of more. He came up to me with a glass of champagne, smiled his enchanting smile, and said, "You will be mine." These words sounded so confident, as if he had already seen our future. And so, our story began. We started dating and soon I moved in with him. From the beginning, everything seemed perfect. He surrounded me with attention, care, gifts. His world was full of luxury and comfort, and I easily immersed myself in this whirlpool. We spent evenings in the best restaurants, traveled the world, attended exclusive events. It felt like the whole world was at my feet. He talked about the future, about joint plans, about how we would build an empire together. I believed every word he said, because who could resist such charm and confidence? But as time went on, something began to change. Little cracks appeared in our perfect picture of the world. He called less often, stayed late at work, and when he came home, he was silent and distant. I tried to ask what was going on, but he always waved it off, saying he was too busy. I sensed something was wrong, but I tried not to think about it, hoping things would work themselves out. Then one night I came home earlier than usual. The house was empty, even though I knew he should be here. His phone was on the table, and a new message notification flashed on the screen. I respected his privacy, but that night something pushed me to come closer. Curiosity overpowered. I picked up my phone and opened the message. There was a picture of a young woman. She was beautiful, very beautiful. Her gaze radiated confidence and a slight boldness. Underneath the photo was one short message, "Waiting for you tonight." The world around me froze. I stood there, phone in hand, and couldn't believe what I had just seen. Everything I believed in, everything I'd hoped for, was suddenly shattered. That night, the world around me literally split in two. The realization of betrayal hit me like a waterfall of ice. It wasn't just cheating, it was a cruel deception. Everything he'd told me before was a fake, an elaborate performance. His promises about the company, about our future together, all of it was just a smokescreen, a cover for his true intentions. He never intended to share in my success. He used me to gain access to my connections, knowledge, and money. When I approached him with this question, he only laughed. That laughter pierced me like a knife. He called me a silly girl who fell for pretty words. Then he added that now he had a new toy, and I could pack my things and leave. His words echoed in my head, shattering the rest of my illusions. In that moment, I felt absolutely devastated. Everything I'd hoped for, everything I'd believed in, was a lie. So, I found myself alone. No job, no money, no future. But worst of all, no hope. But inside me, another emotion rose up. Anger. I decided that I wasn't going to let him get away with this. No, I would fight. I would show him what it meant to betray a strong woman. I felt the fire of revenge ignite inside me. I knew my revenge had to be cold, deliberate, and precise like a sniper's shot. I knew that my ex was a man who lived for money. So, I decided to strike where it would hurt him the most. But before I could take action, I had to gather evidence of his fraud and abuse. The first thing I did was reach out to my friends in the legal community. One of them, Mark, worked at a prominent New York law firm and had access to various databases and resources. We agreed to meet at a cafe in Midtown Manhattan, away from prying eyes. "Julie," Mark began as we sat at a table in the corner, "I hear you're having problems with Michael. Are you sure you want to go all the way?" "Absolutely," I answered firmly. "That man destroyed my life. I want to take back control and punish him for everything he's done." Mark nodded and opened the laptop. A few minutes later the screen filled with data on Michael's companies. We started by looking at his tax returns. Mark explained that there were certain patterns that could indicate tax evasion. For example, excessive spending on hospitality, unreasonable payments to employees, or offshore transfers of assets. I carefully followed every cursor movement on the screen. Gradually, interesting points began to emerge. Michael was actually using several companies registered in Delaware and Nevada to transfer funds to offshore accounts. Some of the transactions looked highly suspicious. "Right here, look," Mark pointed to one of the lines. "This amount was transferred to an account in the Cayman Islands. And this one here is a consultant fee, even though there's no consultant agreement." No consulting agreement. We continued to dig deeper. The next step was to look at the contracts Michael had signed. There were some interesting findings here, too. Many of them were signed with companies that existed only on paper. These were classic examples of using shell companies to launder money. In addition, we discovered that Michael was using personal bank accounts to conduct business transactions. This is a direct violation of corporate rules and tax laws. To confirm my findings, I decided to talk to some of Michael's former employees. One of them, John, worked as a chief accountant for one of his companies. John's relationship with Michael had deteriorated and he agreed to tell me the truth. "Julie," John began when we met at a small bar in Brooklyn, "Michael was really doing dirty deeds. He asked me to forge documents and underreport my income so I'd pay less taxes. I refused, and he fired me." Those words confirmed my worst fears. Now I had proof to file a lawsuit in court. But I wasn't in a hurry. Instead, I decided to use the data to create my own company to compete directly with Michael. But that wasn't enough. I wanted more. I wanted to destroy him completely. It was time to move on to the active phase of my plan. I decided to create my own company that would be a direct threat to Michael's business. My goal was to drive him out of the market. But to do that, I needed resources and support. First, I approached several large investors with whom I had previously worked. They knew me as a competent lawyer and trusted my experience. I presented them the idea of a new company focused on providing legal and consulting services to small and medium-sized businesses. The investors appreciated the potential of the project and agreed to invest. At the same time, I began to attract talented specialists. One of my first steps was to poach key employees from Michael's company. I offered them better working conditions and career prospects. Many of them, tired of constant manipulation and hidden pressure, willingly accepted my offer. I used every opportunity to undermine his position. Our team grew quickly. We rented an office in a prestigious New York City neighborhood and started actively working on our first projects. Our clients appreciated the quality of our services and high level of professionalism. Soon we started receiving positive feedback and recommendations. Meanwhile, Michael noticed that his business was starting to lose clients. He tried to confront us using the old methods, pressure on competitors, attempts to bribe our employees. But every time, we were one step ahead. We acted openly and honestly, offering our clients the best service and transparent terms of cooperation. One morning I received a call from Mark. He said he'd found new evidence of Michael's financial fraud. It turned out that he had been using clients' money for personal use, which is a serious violation of the law. Julie, Mark said, we have every reason to file a lawsuit. It could ruin his business for good. I agreed. We prepared the paperwork and filed the lawsuit in court. Every day I went to the courtroom, looked him straight in the eye and saw him get nervous. The money he thought was his was slowly melting away. Fines, taxes, compensation, it all came down on him like an avalanche. The process took several months, but the outcome was predictable. The court found Michael guilty of financial irregularities and ordered him to pay large fines. Michael lost. His companies were closed, assets were frozen, and he had to leave the country to avoid prison. It's said that he left the country in an attempt to start over. But I know the same thing is waiting for him there. Because I'm not going to stop. A deceived woman becomes a whirlwind that sweeps away everything in its path. I felt satisfied. My revenge was complete. Not only had I regained control of my life, but I had proved that justice was possible. Even the strongest enemy can be defeated if you act smart and cool. Michael lost everything he had built and I became a successful entrepreneur. Today, my company continues to grow and evolve. We work with large clients and participate in international projects. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to overcome challenges and build something meaningful. Life goes on and I am ready for new challenges. Sometimes I think about what happened. About the love I lost. About the hopes that were dashed. But then I remember how much I hated him back then. And I realized that that hatred gave me strength. It kept me going, no matter what. And now that I look back, it was all worth it. Because sometimes revenge is the only way to regain control of your life.